Hello and welcome to July 11th, 2022. I'm Kurt and this is my daily Good Life meditation video. I do this every day to remember my life objectives and principles, to see how I'm doing applying these to the everyday. I begin with a recount of yesterday, namely how did I do? Did pretty good, I think. Lived definitely through the day yesterday. Didn't really face any major challenges, but I did have a lot of moments throughout the day when I was rallying my energies to do better. But again, nothing really major challenged me. Although I was out in the thick of it yesterday, out in society amidst everybody. But for some reason, I really slept bad last night. One of the worst mornings ever. I mean, it was almost as bad as back in the day when I used to work at Ventura. Those were terrible times. And last night was bad. I've got a tough week ahead of me. Tough day ahead of me. I've only got a handful of meetings, but they won't be hard. But I've got problems I have to solve. And I'm pretty sure my mind I know my mind was dwelling in a superficial sense on those. I wasn't thinking explicitly about the problems, but they were like having a bear outside your tent, moving around. You can hear it out there snapping twigs and rustling in the bushes. And I remember once having a bear outside my tent, and it was rubbing the side of the tent walls. That was scary. I should have been more scared then. Stupid youth that I was. Anyway, that's what last night was. My problems. Rummaging around in the woods beside my tent. I can't sleep. Who could? And I'm pretty sure I made up, like I started to say, I made up some problems. Or a problem last night. Something about insufficient notice to a stakeholder about what was going on with the project. What a strange thing. I think I've covered all my notifications. I'll have to check my communication plan. So as a result, I don't sleep well. I think the only reason I feel as good as, I don't feel awful. I think it's because I went to bed pretty early. Got a good night's sleep. Oh, and then yesterday, Yumiko and I totally blew we blew two things. We blew our budget and we blew our dinner plan. Our meal plan. We've been doing intermittent fasting, and it's had quite an effect. I'm losing weight, feeling great. Just, a meal at lunchtime and a meal at dinner. And if I'm going to snack in between, maybe a handful of nuts. And very healthy food and no junk. And I just feel great. So yesterday at lunch, we went out and we had a good lunch. We were with Chris and Emily. So it was, but then we had dessert. That was the thing that got us. Had a coolish ice cream from the Japanese store. And then on the way home, I was feeling tired as a result of the ice cream. So I stopped and got a coffee, but I didn't get a coffee, like a black coffee like I should. Like, this is just black coffee. I can drink that. I got a grande mocha at Starbucks. That just wiped me out. And I felt like crap all afternoon after that. Late afternoon. It's amazing how similar. And it used to be. And I told Yumiko afterwards, I said, because she felt like crap too because of the ice cream. And I told her, we feel like crap, but this was the status quo before we improved our diet. This is just how we felt all the time. And it's funny because you feel all this way all the time, and you think you owe yourself an ice cream or a coffee at Starbucks, to hopefully you tell yourself the caffeine and the sugar will make me feel well, or maybe I've just had such a crappy day, I deserve it. And it just compounds the problem. So it took me all afternoon, late afternoon and the evening to kind of burn through all of that. Yumiko made a really good dinner. And then I did have a handful of raisins after that. Oh. I feel all right now, my body. I think my body's quickly getting back on its feet, and I'm not going to make that mistake again. But I just don't feel, after the bad night's sleep, I feel down, this whole experience of, worrying about work on this constantly, seemingly perpetually for the last, since the pandemic. That was the other thing I was thinking last night. We'll make a note here. Because of working from home, the problems that I used to have before the pandemic, before I was working from home, were truly no more significant, in fact, than most of the problems I face now, except for the ones in Ventura. Those were pretty bad. Those were exceptional. I'm thinking that, but why can't I sleep? Why is it striking? I've never had this problem before, and I think it's because I'm working from home. Because my proximity to the place where my stress sink, if I can call that, the heat sink is, an electrical circuit. You put like a alligator clip, metal alligator clip on a piece of metal here with a wire, and it'll suck all the heat away if you're soldering, so you don't burn up the circuit. The heat sink, the stress sink at work was my cube. And I would have this huge buffer, the routine that I would go through here in the morning, and then the commute, and then the walk up the stairs, or taking the elevator, and then sitting in my cube. And my cube would be the seat of all that stress. Again, the sink of it all that stress would go there, and it would dissipate into the building where I worked. Here, I get up, I walk into my little room here, my workspace is right there. There's no buffer. No wonder the stress of work follows me everywhere. That's a very negative side effect of working from home. Now, I could go into the office if I wanted to. That is an option. What an interesting idea. I hadn't thought of that. What an interesting idea. Would I want to do that? What an interesting idea. Going back to work. Just to deal with the stress. Or at least to provide a buffer between the source of the stress and my home. I wonder if that would help. Sorry, I'm just sitting here deliberating. I've never done that. Just ignoring this. Interesting. Anyway, I'm going to give that some thought. In other news, Emiko and I had a great time yesterday talking about our return to Japan. And we even expanded our scope of exploration to beyond Shizuoka, where Shizuoka Prefecture, where she lived. She grew up, to other places. She's even willing to consider a place like Yui. Wow, little fishing village, just to the east of Shizuoka. Wow. Let's do the good life. 7 objectives. 1, to be always ready to die. 2, to make good and effective use of time. 3, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. 4, to cultivate good emotional reactions. 5, to perform good actions. 6, to recognize true limits and true opportunities. And 7, to do just one thing at a time, and to do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. And now I have my 30 principles. Let me get out my little board. See if I can actually do the 30 quickly and not miss any. Let's see if I can do this without stumbling. War, reason, Homunculus, Anchorhold, home of good and evil, purpose, atomic principle, the principle of nature, pirate ride, maturity, social principle, public speaking, temperance, the horror show, that which must be borne, distraction, agency in the great indifference, I missed one another, didn't I? The Feast of Offal. I think that was back there before. After that which must be born, then the Feast of Offal, then distraction, then agency in the great indifference, then the risk of avoiding risk. No, the best seat in the house, then the path of wildness, then the risk of avoiding risk, and then the risk of avoiding risk, and then sin and damnation, complete oblivion, the great life adventure, the season of philosophy. After the season of philosophy comes bullseye aim, uphill climb, arena and utility. Nothing is enough. The principle of fun. Look at that. 30. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So I got them all. I almost missed the season of philosophy. Okay, as for today, no, I have no meetings in the morning. None. Amazing. I'm gonna have, I think I have 5 or 6 meetings in the afternoon, but they're easy meetings. I'm doing a training class beginning next week. I'm meeting with my students to go over the class, get them ready. But I have problems to take care of. But that's what I get paid for, right? But I wish my problems were, 25 miles away in the building in Riverside. Not here. I don't like. Boy, I'm sorely tempted to go to work. Sorely, sorely tempted. Okay, I'll stop. I can do this. I mean, total first world problems. But I mean, but they're challenge for me. I can do this day. Okay, here we go. Be safe but not too safe. Take care.